All right, so here today with Mr. Ben Wright. Ben's someone that I've known for about the last year and a half. We've worked together numerous times throughout there, mostly in Ben's capacity as a powerlifter. He's a strong dude, but in his professional capacity, he's a strength coach and he trains people to get strong. And he's just recently opened up Plexus personal training, which is up the road in Pymble, so local business in the local community. We thought we'd just get together today and hear a bit more about Ben's background and his story, and also a bit more about Plexus and what he's doing up there. So thanks for coming in.
Pleasure to be here.
Throw it over to you. Tell us a little bit about your history and how you got into this space of helping people get strong.
Yeah, so basically, as Chris has said, I've been working him for the last year and a half in terms of keeping my body healthy. I basically started out a while back when I was in my late teens, and I was overweight, I was obese, I was struggling, having a hard time physically and mentally, and something happened one day which could be saved for another day, but that pretty much made me make a change and decided to start doing something about it and get my health on the better side. So I hired a personal trainer back then and decided to go on the journey, and long story short, over time I lost about 30 kilograms, and that was the initiation of essentially what changed my life. I saw what I could do for myself, and I decided, all right, I feel great now, and a lot of people are struggling like me. I want to be able to help other people. Before all that happened, I started focusing on myself in terms of getting stronger, competing in powerlifting. I was doing another job at the time, and I basically saw the physical and mental changes that strength training combined with good nutrition did for not only myself physically, but more importantly mentally. And I wanted that change to be applicable to other people as well, and be able to go and help others as well as myself. So I started a business out of that. I've been strength coaching for quite some time now, helping lots of people on their journeys, and it's different for every person, but the end goal is still to get them incredible results. Now, as Chris said, recently I've just opened up Plexus. After working for myself for quite some time, this was a new venture I've gone into, and I've decided to take things to the next level, essentially.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I've been in and had a look at Ben's facility, and it's a nice little space, and you walk in and it's not a huge space like you'd expect in a large gym environment, and I think that's by design, right? Because you've got what you need.
It all had a purpose, and the way I designed the studio was that to be a studio and not a gym. A lot of people don't like going into a big open environment. They can feel uncomfortable where there's lots of other people around. They see guys lifting weights aggressively, and that can scare a lot of the general population away, who is a big majority of my clientele. So it's by appointment only. We keep it personalized. Every program and every session is tailored to the individual, with the goal of getting them their end result on their specific journey, and it's different for everyone. But small little studio with the best equipment in the business, and yeah, it's good. People love it.
So, what are the goals of a typical person that you work with? Is it primarily to get strong? Is it someone that maybe wants to get a bit more shredded for summer, or maybe for their significant other, or they just want to lose a bit of weight and get a bit healthier or move better? Or what are the typical people that you have and work with?
Look, the clientele varies. I've had people from all walks of life. I've had young people who want to get specifically stronger. I've had other people who just want to be able to kick the ball around with their kids, live a happier life, be a better husband, basically be better at work, like be better in their whole professional career. I've had other people who have came to me as rehabilitational clients, who would be people you've worked with in the past, who literally couldn't pick up groceries without having back pain. And my job as a strength coach was to rehabilitate their back and get them moving in the correct motor pattern, to actually become stronger and get out of pain so they can live a happier life. And fast forward time, and that's happened with all of my clients.
Nice. So yeah, I think that's really important that people are able to be very functional. And so one of the things that we do here is specializing in normalizing tissue, and then we need to make strength around that to reinforce that. So if we're talking about movement and that sort of thing, my focus is on having a good, strong and controlled movement to support a joint and to stop a problem happening again. But I guess that idea of strength has different meanings to different people in different settings.
Yep.
So if here for me it's more about stability and about the ability to control something and to do that well, and to do that well over time, and especially when we're doing that around joints, because it's a protective thing, and so we're enabling longevity and avoiding injuries and things like that.
Definitely.
Then if we throw the strength concept, I suppose, over into your space, what does, there's probably one concept of strength to you as a powerlifter where it's more about moving as much load as you can in a short amount of time. What does the concept of strength mean to your clients?
So as you've just said, at the back end of that, moving the most amount of weight is what you do at the elite level of being a competitive powerlifter, but that's actually not how I predominantly train most of my clients. That's kind of at the top end, at the end of the spectrum. Like you said, we're starting with stability to increase mobility. That's where it all starts. And even if you are a competitive powerlifter at the top end, you've got to go back to square one to start with the basics.
Yeah.
Stability creates mobility essentially, and if you don't know how to move well, you're going to be pretty fucked later on in life, or when you do get under those heavy loads, there's more potential risk of injury. So the way I train my clients and focus on running my business is teaching people how to move properly. We form a basis of stability so the joints are stable, they can support their loads they're going to be lifting, and then it's about intertwining everything in together to teach everything to work in synergy, have them moving in the correct movement patterns. Like some people don't even know how to bend over and pick things up properly. They round at their lumbar spine rather than learning how to hip hinge. I've had clients come to me who can't do a bodyweight squat. So it's like, how do you get up off a lounge? How do you sit on the toilet? Like, you need to learn how to move so it doesn't screw you up later in life.
It's just that basic motor pattern.
Yeah, right? It's that basic motor pattern of learning how to move all joints in synergy and move correctly. And I talk about this with some of my clients, like over time when they see the results they've had. But basically from there, it's then learn how to move correctly and then get stronger under load. That's the stimulus, and being weak isn't good. You're going to have pain. The goal is to get strong enough to get out of that pain and have your muscles working in synergy with the joints to support your everyday life. Capabilities, like what are you going to do? Are you going to kick the ball with the kids? Are you going to do the groceries? Are you a bit older and going to be walking up the stairs multiple times a day? Like, you want to be strong enough to be able to move freely without pain.
Totally, yeah. And I think, in that, I think probably what you're describing there is a demographic that's a little bit older, perhaps.
Yeah.
So they've maybe been moving not ideally for quite a while. And the body's pretty amazing because it finds ways around things, and those patterns kind of build. What I sort of see happen here is that that's reflected within tissues of the body. And so you do see that like fibrotic tissue forming in areas that you don't want it.
Yeah.
And once that's there, that's kind of like it's a structural thing. It's not a matter of just being able to stretch it out and that sort of thing. It has that rubber band effect, I suppose. Some people will try to stretch through it and it just kind of comes back.
Well, stopping you there on that as well, it's like some people say I have pain, I have tight hamstrings, I'm like I've got pain everywhere, so they stretch, because stretching is the quick relief for that, but we're not after a quick relief. And what a lot of people do when they have pain or a tightness is they stretch, but like you said, it's a rubber band effect. It comes back. It's a quick fix to that problem, which isn't actually fixing the problem. So what my goal is, and probably correct me if I'm wrong, but what yours is as well, is to work out what that underlying issue is and what that problem is, what's causing that dysfunction. My goal as a strength coach is to work with people like yourself, if I'm not identifying it on my own in the session, to work out what that dysfunction is and strengthen the weakness, because usually a tightness is there because of a weakness.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we both look at function, and your view of function with assessing a patient, a patient in my setting, but a client in yours more, is around what that person can or can't do. So it could be looking at their ability to body weight squat, which is still something that I'm interested in as well. But I guess my view of function might just go to a slightly lower level.
Yeah.
And it could be a function that the person may not necessarily be something that they think about. So I might be looking at the lower back, for instance, and the ability for that to be able to flex properly, which is not really something that we think about, but we need to be able to do it to be able to distribute forces properly across the discs and stuff like that. So, I'm really interested in function of different areas, but maybe it's more like an anatomical function versus what you're looking at, which is more like a movement, for like an everyday function kind of thing.
And that's where our two businesses are different, and that's why you have your expertise and I have mine. It's like you've been trained in a different level of education to help clients on a different level to what mine is. It's a different aspect, and that's why I find us two working together can actually help the client get the best bang for their buck, essentially.
Yeah, I think it kind of brings together a bit of a wider picture, and hopefully, it sort of supports each side of it a little bit, because ultimately, someone's either in here probably wanting to get out of pain. That's most of the people that I work with here. Some people are just proactive and recognise that something's not moving as well as it should, and they want to improve that, which is great. I love that when you get someone that's not actually having a problem, but they just want to improve a bit.
Well, a lot of the reason some of my clients do come to me as well, like they come to you, is they are in pain. Like I've had referrals from some chiros, some physios, they've been working with them doing the soft tissue work that you do, but they're physically not capable of doing things like a squat and actually moving to where you might work on the muscle and work on the joint, give them a solution to their problem, but then the way they're actually moving over time is causing some of the issues that got them there in the first place. It's tightening things up. So it's like, for example, they've been going and training in the past, but they've been doing it with bad technique, and that's what's caused them to have that pain, to where it's like my job to correct the movement dysfunction, to actually teach them how to do it correctly and utilize all the right muscles in synergy to support the loads that they are lifting or support the everyday activities that they are doing. Because like you said, some people aren't always lifting, but they're in pain when they're playing with their kids, or they're in pain doing groceries. Like, that's not good.
Yeah, look, I was talking to someone recently. We've been doing a bit of work for her lower back over a period of time, and we've seen a lot of change happen, which has been great. One of the comments that she made recently is because she's been working with an exercise physiologist to start rebuilding some basic movement and strength patterns just around body weight, and you're talking about the hip hinge and things like that. And one of the things that she said was that she has a granddaughter who's quite young, who's a couple of years old, and so she's spending a lot of time picking up the little one and that sort of thing. And up until recently, she felt that she didn't really have, or hadn't had the strength to be able to squat down, pick her up, and then stand up.
Yeah.
And that's I guess a fairly basic level of strength. We're not talking like, we're not talking about back squatting a large amount of weight or anything. And she hadn't been able to do that for quite a while. So it would be more bending over, picking up. And so this is kind of feeding into this lower back problem, essentially. But now recently that we've we've got her control better, coupled with some exercise correction and some strength. She's now able to squat down in a well-controlled body weight squat, pick up the little one and stand up. And this was her telling me this story, and it was such a simple thing, but I think that would be a lot of people.
Yeah, man.
That because you do this thing so many times a day, and it's that repetitive. Let's call it micro trauma that's happening because you're doing something the wrong way, and it's just that over and over and over, and that's when you end up in here, or in your place needing to correct something. So
you look at the spine, you look at, say, disc issues, for example, what a lot of people have, and it's not like I'm going to one day just go and bend down and pick something up with bad technique or a rounded back and I'm going to blow my disc. It's the slowly build up repetitively over time that wears that away to when one day it then goes snap.
Yeah, essentially you've already having a problem that you're not probably aware of. There may be some signs.
Yeah.
The pretty classic one is people wake up tight in the morning, and then as they get up and get moving, the lower back feels pretty good and you're not in pain, so people just get on with it. But what you hear happen is that often that really acute incident where people would refer to it as a slip disc, and which, by the way, it doesn't slip, but that's another whole conversation. But I've heard of people just turning and reaching for something, or it just the most innocuous thing, and then bang, it's like they're hit by a truck.
Yeah.
And that problem was already there, but just something small happened and tipped it over the edge. And yeah, so coming back to your point, it's so important that we do the right things for the majority of the time, and we do the right things when we're not even thinking about it. And it just draws my attention to it now, and I want to sort of sit up straight. It's just such a hard thing, and so you have to work on it until it's something that you don't think too much about. But yeah, man, look, tell us a little bit more about what's going on at Plexus over the next we're coming into Christmas time and everything. Are you going to be open up during that period, and what's happening for next year?
I'll personally be open. As I said, the studio is by appointment only, so it's not a gym where people just come in. I'll probably be doing a little bit of less hours as people are going away over Christmas, but it's still fairly busy. Like, my clientele's pretty consistent, and I'm at a point where my sessions are pretty full. I have someone else working with me, and we'll be filling out the studio with new clients over the new year, focusing on helping as many people as we can, and expanding into the new year with the goal of getting people the results they want to achieve moving forward. And that's different, like whether it be fat loss, a lot of people will come in the new year wanting to achieve a goal of fat loss, but my clients personally, I don't train a lot of clients for specific fat loss right now. It's kind of shifted away, and I've moved in more of a niche of that strength coach, where it's getting people stronger to not be in pain. And
do you sort of get fat loss as a byproduct?
It depends. It depends on their nutrition.
Right.
Look, you're driving through a session. Our sessions are they're focused on moving weights, and that does expend energy. So your energy out component will be higher. You're going to essentially burn more calories.
It depends what you do
but
away
it depends
from the
what
gym.
they're eating. Like if they're eating Maccas 4 times a day, they're going to get fatter. It just typically depends on what they're
delicious
eating.
Though, right?
I don't know. I haven't had it in a while. I eat a lot of other foods that are delicious, but we have a nutritionist working with us in the studio as well. So if your goal is fat loss, the training will provide the stimulus to get stronger, help that energy out, and there's a nutritionist with us to work towards achieving your goals. At the end of the day, you can't out-train a bad diet, but it doesn't really matter what your diet's like in terms of fixing little movement issues. Like, we can still work on that, and I'm specifically working on pretty much getting people stronger to be able to live a healthier, happier life and be out of pain.
So, to wrap it up, without going into specifics of people's individual details or stories, but what are some of the highlights for you as a coach, or is there anything that you've been really proud of in getting people strong and a payoff that's come for them?
Well, the reason why I've gone more into that specific and why I keep saying getting people out of pain is because that's been the biggest pleasure for me, rather than seeing someone go from like a 200 kilo squat to a 210. Yeah, you've added 10 kilos to the bar, that's great. But having clients come to me who literally can't do the groceries without having the debilitating back pain, to come to me and we teach them how to move correctly. We get them stronger through an exercise of a deadlift, which is picking a weight up off the ground, to use that to rehabilitate his back to where now he's actually lifting over 100 kilograms. He can do the groceries pain-free. He's been with me for a year and a half now, and he comes week in, week out because he sees the results. He sees himself getting stronger, and he can do everything he's always wanted to do in life.
So his confidence would skyrocket.
Yeah, 100%. And the same as one of my other clients who was referred to me, he was a soccer player, and he's 50 years old, but he couldn't finish one game in the whole season because he would have pain. In the first assessment, it goes back to what you were saying before, and he couldn't do a bodyweight squat. He's had shoulder pain, he's had knee pain, he's had hip pain. Getting up off the lounge was hard for him. And it's like we had to regress his training so much and focus on what you said at the start, which is stability, to improve his mobility, and then do basically periodize the exercises to get him to do specific movements. So now he can actually move in every way possible. He can squat, and it turns out this last season, he played the full game for the full season. And for him to come to me and say that was like a big win.
Yeah, awesome.
So what pleases me the most is when people come to me because they can't do something, but they want to do something, and then we work together and then they can do that something.
Yeah, look, it's one of the things that I love about this work as well, because, you know, like you, I came from a different job originally as well, and I never had that ability to directly help people, I think, and you know, you don't get that reward through everyone, but every now and then you make a change to someone's life, and it's just awesome. You know, it's something that I really enjoy. So I think it's very refreshing to be able to do that, and to be able to just, you know, it might not be a large thing that you do in your day, but it may have a huge payoff to someone else. And I think, you know, that's certainly something that I love about this work.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up there today. So,
sounds
good. Good stuff to talk about.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Sounds good, man.
Awesome. Thank you.